Hi, this video I'm going to be solving equation by graphing. So whenever I have a quadratic equation, that means that my highest exponent is 2. I need to have a couple of things. First of all, if I have the n square, the variable square, and the variable, the linear one, the variable to the 1, I'm going to move everything to the same side of the equation. So my first step is that I want to make sure that one of the sides of the equation equals to 0. So that means that I got n minus square minus 5n plus 24 equals 0, right? Because this is 0. Now, second step is that I'm going to make sure that it's in standard form. So that means that if it's a quadratic, square is my highest one. I'm going to have the variable square, the variable, and the number without variable. So n squared minus 5n minus 24. Then I'm going to check that the n squared is positive and that there's no common factor. In this case, there's no common factor. N squared is positive, so I can solve. Now, a here is 1, right? Because this number here in the front is 1. So that means that I can just take two numbers that you multiply and give you 24, and you subtract and give you 5. So those numbers are n minus 8, n plus 3 equals 0. Now, because this number is negative, that means that this times that has to be negative. So that means that it has to be negative and positive. It's negative 8 because when you add them up or subtract them, it has to be negative 5. So the only way that that's true is that it's negative 8. Now, once I factor this, I need to find the value of n. So I'm going to take each parenthesis right here. So n minus 8 equals 0, or n plus 3 equals 0. So I'm going to add the 8 on both sides. So that means that n equals 8, or the negative 3 here on both sides. That means that n equals negative 3. And those are your two solutions. Let's see the number 2. Again, I'm going to start by adding the 2 on both sides. So that means that I got x squared minus 3x minus 18 equals to 0. Again, it's in standard form. I have the 0 on one side. I don't have a common factor. And my leading coefficient is 1. So I'm finding two numbers that you multiply and give you 18, and you subtract and give you negative 3. So again, multiply has to give you negative, so we know that it's going to be positive and negative. So positive and negative. And now two numbers that you multiply give you 18, and you subtract and give you 3. Those numbers are 6 and 3. So x minus 6 equals 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. So plus 6 on both sides, so x equals to 6, or minus 3 on both sides, x equals to negative 3. Let's see the next one. So again, I'm going to start by combining, leaving a 0 on both sides. So I'm going to start by subtracting 7a here, minus 7a. So I got 3a squared minus 3a minus 6 equals 0. I have the 0. I have a number here that is different than 1. Right? My next step, I should check if I have a common factor. So in this case, I do have a common factor, and my common factor is 3. So I'm going to divide everything by 3. So I have a squared minus a minus 2 equals 0. Again, two numbers that you multiply and give you 2, and you subtract and give you 1. So that a minus 2 equals 0, a plus 1 equals 0. So a equals to 2, or minus 1 minus 1, a equals to negative 1. Okay, 4. Again, first step, I'm going to leave 0 on one side, so I'm going to add the v on both sides. So I got 5v squared plus 5v minus 4 is equal to 0. V is positive, and I have the 0 on the right side. It's in standard form, and I don't have a common factor. Now, because a is different than 1, I gotta do the box method. It's the easiest way to solve it. So I'm going to multiply 5 times negative 4. That's negative 20v squared. Now I'm going to do the box. I'm going to put inside of the box the numbers that I just multiplied. So the 5 goes up here. The negative 4 goes down there. It doesn't go anywhere else. 5 goes up here. Negative 4 goes down here. Now I'm going to find two numbers that you multiply and give you negative 20, and you subtract and give you 1. Those numbers are 5b and negative 4v. Again, they have to be opposite signs because you're multiplying to a negative number. 5 has to be positive because you're subtracting and it's going to give you positive. So my common factor on the first one, my common factor up here is 5v. Then my common factor in here is going to be negative 4. My common factor here my common factor right here is going to be negative v. And then last, my common factor right here is going to be 1. So I can factor this as, so that means that I have 5v minus 4 times v plus 1 equals 0. So again, I'm going to split this up, equals to 0, or v plus 1 equals 0. So I can subtract the 1 here, get that v equals to negative 1, and plus 4 on both sides. 5v equals 4, and then divided by 5, v equals to 4 over 5. And those are my two solutions. Okay, let's see number 5. Again, anytime that I have an equation like this one, I gotta make sure that everything is on the same side of the equation. So I'm gonna start by adding everything over here. And why I'm adding everything to the left side? Because I want to make sure that my r squared is positive. So that's why I'm adding the 3 instead of subtracting the 2r squared. And I'm adding everything. As you can see, I have the opposite. So I'm adding 3r squared on both sides. I'm adding 1. I'm adding 23. I'm not subtracting 22r. Because if I subtract, I'm going to have negative 22 minus 22 is the same as negative 44. So I want to cancel everything on this side, so I have this 0. So I got 5r squared plus 22r minus 48 equals 0. Okay. Again, now I'm going to multiply those two. I'm going to multiply this times that one is negative 240 r squared. I don't have a common factor. I got to multiply this one because this is different than 1. Okay, so get box method. It's the easiest one to solve. I'm going to write up here 5r squared, and then down here negative 48. Two numbers that you multiply and give you negative 240, and you subtract and give you 22. Those numbers are 30r and negative 8r squared. Negative 8 times 30 is negative 240. 30r, actually this is not r squared, it's just r. Negative 8r plus 30r is positive 22. So common factor on the first line. So again, common factor right here. On this case is 5r. Common factor on the second line is negative 8. Common factor on the first column is r. And then common factor on the last column is going to be positive 6. Remember that if you multiply this number on the left and this number down here, it should give you this one. If I multiply first line times second column, it should give me this one. 5 times 6, 30. Negative 8 times r is negative 8r, and negative 8 times 6 is negative 48. So my factorization is 5r minus 8, and I can go directly to this step, and r plus 6 equals 0. So plus 8 on both sides. I get 5r equals to 8 divided by 5r equals to 8 over 5. Then minus 6 on both sides, r equals to negative 6. So those are your two solutions. Okay. So 6, again, I'm going to start by moving the 80, plus 184 on both sides, plus 184b. So I got 20b squared plus 184b plus 192 equals to 0. There's a common factor here. Okay. My common factor in this case is 4, so I can divide everything by 4. By 4 by 4. So I got 5b squared plus 46b plus 48 equals to 0. So again, I'm going to multiply those two. So 5 times 48 is 240 again. Again, box method. It's the easiest way right here. I'm going to put the 5b squared here. I'm going to put the 48 down here. Two numbers that you multiply and give you 240. And you add and give you 46. Those numbers on this case are 40b and 6b. Again, common factor on the first line is 5b. Common factor on the second line is 6. Common factor on the first column is b. Common factor on the second column is 8. Again, 5b times b is 5b squared. 6 times b is 6b. 5b times 8 is 40b, and 6 times 8 is 48. So right here I got 5b plus 6 equals 0. So 5b equals to negative 6. I'm subtracting that negative 6 on both sides, and then I'm going to divide by 5. b equals to negative 6 over 5. Or b plus 8 equals 0. So b equals to negative 8. And those are my two solutions. Because everything up here is positive in this step right here, that means that my two solutions should be negative. Okay, now it's taken by square root. On this case, again, I don't have the linear term, so I don't have the one with the variable by itself, the p only. So that means that I can have the p squared on both sides, and then I can add that 2 on both sides. So that means that I got p squared equals to 4. I'm going to take the square root on both sides, so that means that p equals to plus or minus 2. Why plus or minus 2? Again, remember that anytime that you have this, that means that's how many solutions. And also on this step right here, on the step where I have p squared equals to 4, I'm looking for a number that I can plug in for p that is going to give me 4. So yes, 2 squared is 4. But also negative 2 squared is the same as 4. So that's why we need that plus or minus. Okay. Again, I'm going to solve for the variable square, so I'm going to divide by 4. So b squared equals to 196 divided by 4. That's 49. And now I'm going to take the square root on both sides, and b equals to plus or minus 7. And that's it for this lesson. May the 4th be with you.